Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at AI in healthcare. We've got like a whole stack of papers here, and we're going to be talking about everything from how AI can be used to analyze medical images to systems designed to understand how AI thinks,
Right.
which is pretty crazy.
It is really interesting how we're moving beyond just sort of like the hype of AI as like a magical solution and really digging into the nuances of how can we use it responsibly and effectively in healthcare.
Right, and I think one thing that really stood out to me in a lot of these papers is this concept of explainable AI.
Yeah.
Which seems especially crucial when we're talking about, life or death decisions.
Absolutely.
And there's a study by Olier Rezai and colleagues that I thought was really interesting. They looked at how explainability in these AI systems can actually affect the trust that doctors have in them and whether that trust actually leads to better diagnoses.
So it is a critical question because if you think about it, if a system is telling your doctor that you have a very serious condition, wouldn't you want to know why it came to that conclusion?
Exactly.
And so what Rezai and their team found is that doctors tend to trust AI systems more when they provide high confidence scores. But here's the thing. That trust doesn't always translate to better diagnosis. Sometimes it can lead to over-reliance on the AI, which can actually lead to less accurate decisions.
Oh, wow. So it's like almost like a false sense of security.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this research is so important. It highlights the need for AI systems that can not only make accurate predictions, but explain their reasoning in a way that we can understand.
Right. So it's not just about being right.
Yeah.
It's about us understanding why it thinks it's right.
Yes.
And I think that leads really well into the work of Sola Kang and their colleagues. They've been looking at how there's really complex AI models, specifically transformer-based models, actually make decisions when they're analyzing medical images.
Right. They developed this method called token insight, which allows doctors to see which parts of an image the AI is focusing on when it makes a decision.
So it's like instead of just getting a diagnosis, you can actually see like what the AI is.
It's like a heat map of the AI's attention. And so it's moving away from that black box approach where we just get an output without any insight into how it got there. And token insight is really moving us in the direction of understanding and verifying and even correcting the AI's reasoning.
Yeah, that feels crucial. Now, some of these papers are looking at how AI can help us literally see things we couldn't see before. And I'm thinking specifically about the work of Yukihiro Michiwaki and colleagues.
Okay.
They've developed this AI that uses 4D CT scans to actually visualize how organs move inside the body.
So 4D CT scans, unlike traditional CT scans, actually capture movement over time. So you can see the dynamic interplay of organs that we've never been able to see before.
It's not just a static image.
It's like a movie of your insides.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And it's incredibly valuable for diagnosing things like swallowing disorders, where understanding how these muscles and organs work together is really essential.
Wow, so we can actually see these internal processes happening. Now, I'm wondering about accuracy. Can we trust AI to be as accurate as humans when it comes to things like medical reports?
That's a great question. And Philip Chung and a large team of researchers tackled this head on. They developed a system called Verifact, which is designed to fact check clinical text that's generated by AI. So they compare the AI's output to the patient's actual electronic health records. And what they found is remarkable. Verifact can actually be even more accurate than the average clinician at catching errors.
So AI could potentially help prevent those kinds of mistakes that happen in medical documentation.
Absolutely. And it's not about replacing those clinicians, but about giving them a tool to ensure that these reports are accurate and build trust in AI systems.
That's so important. It seems like AI can be a valuable collaborator in healthcare.
Yes.
It's not just about replacing humans. It's about augmenting their capabilities.
Absolutely.
And I think that leads well into the work of Zifeng Wang and their colleagues. They developed a system called LAYS that essentially acts as
It's like a super smart research assistant for doctors. So you can think of it as a highly specialized search engine for medical literature. And their study with clinicians showed that using LAYS to find studies and extract data not only saved them a ton of time, but it actually led to more accurate results.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a team of expert medical librarians at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Okay, now, this next paper, it explores a fascinating parallel between humans and AI.
Okay.
You know how stress can affect your performance. Sometimes, a little pressure can be good to help you focus, but too much, you just crumble.
You fall apart.
Yeah, well, Govin Shen and their colleagues wondered if the same could be true for AI.
AI feeling stressed out? Interesting.
I know, right? So they designed these prompts to induce different levels of quote-unquote stress in these large language models, or LLMs. And what they found is that LLMs, just like humans, tend to perform best under a moderate level of stress.
So there's a sweet spot for AI performance.
That's crazy.
It is.
It makes you wonder what other human-like characteristics these systems might exhibit.
It is fascinating, isn't it? It really shows how complex these systems are. They're not just static tools. They're dynamic entities that respond to their environment in ways that we're only beginning to understand.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how AI can help us better understand human movement and joint health.
Okay, I like it.
So Arkit Kamfametu and their team have developed something called VidSol, which combines data from instrumented insoles, so basically insoles with sensors in them and video, to predict how much stress is being placed on your joints when you're moving. Yep. So how would this be used in the real world?
So think about conditions like knee osteoarthritis, which affects millions of people. VidSol could help doctors diagnose these conditions much earlier and less invasively.
Wow. So instead of needing invasive procedures or expensive imaging, you could just get diagnosed by
walking around with these special insoles. It's pretty cool.
That's incredible. It seems like AI is being applied to
it really is.
Almost every aspect of healthcare.
And what's really exciting is we're just scratching the surface. Let's talk about combining different types of patient data to get a more holistic picture of their health.
I like it.
So Maltitol and their colleagues have developed Vidim, an AI system that uses something called a vision transformer to analyze all sorts of patient data, their clinical measurements, medications they're taking, even medical images.
So instead of looking at each piece of information separately, this AI can put it all together.
Puts the pieces together.
To get a more complete picture.
Exactly. And in their research, Vidim outperformed other methods at predicting in-hospital mortality, which means it could help doctors identify patients who are at higher risk and intervene sooner.
Wow, that's incredible. It feels like we're moving towards a future where AI can see the whole picture of our health.
Yes.
Not just these isolated snippets. And that's just the first batch of papers. We have a whole stack more to go.
I know we do.
Each one diving into a different facet of AI in healthcare.
It's remarkable how many different approaches and applications are being developed, and it really highlights the potential for AI to revolutionize how we approach health and medicine.
Yeah, for sure. But before we dive into those, I want to pause for a second and ask you, the listener, what's standing out to you so far? What's sparking your curiosity? What's raising questions? We'd love to hear your thoughts as we continue this deep dive into the world of AI in healthcare.
So are you ready to keep exploring?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We've seen how AI can analyze data and make predictions, but some of these papers are looking at even more mind-bending applications.
Like one by Food Boostuan. He explores this whole world of generative AI for vision.
Generative AI, what is that?
So imagine an AI that can create images of organs, tissues, even entire bodies from scratch.
Wow. So
it's generative AI in the realm of vision.
AI that can create anatomical illustrations or simulations for training surgeons.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just static images.
Okay.
Generative AI can create dynamic visualizations of biological processes, simulate the effects of different treatments, or even personalize medical education materials based on a specific patient's anatomy.
So it's like having an AI artist that specializes in medical imagery.
Exactly.
That's pretty incredible.
And speaking of training, Vanessa Echeverria and her team have developed this AI system called Team Vision.
Team Vision.
Which is designed to improve teamwork and communication in healthcare.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, it uses data from all sorts of sources.
Yeah.
Like voice recordings, transcripts of conversations, and even body language.
Captured through sensors to understand how healthcare teams interact during these simulated scenarios.
Oh, so it's like having an AI coach that can observe the team and give feedback on how they're communicating.
It can identify areas where the team is doing really well, pinpoint moments of miscommunication, and even suggest strategies for improvement.
That's so cool.
And this real-time feedback is so valuable for building a more cohesive team and ultimately improving patient safety.
Yeah, it's really interesting how AI can be used to help humans work better together.
Absolutely.
Now, some of these papers get into the more technical side of AI, and I'm struggling to wrap my head around this one by Huayu Li and their colleagues who are working on making large language models more interpretable.
Yeah, so as AI systems become more complex, it's really important that we can understand how they're reaching their conclusions.
Right, especially in healthcare.
Exactly. And their team developed this framework called ConMil.
ConMil.
Which is specifically designed to make these models more transparent.
Okay, but what do you mean by medical time series data?
So think about data that's collected over time, like a patient's heart rate, blood pressure readings, or their blood sugar levels. Wow. Those data points make a time series. And AI can analyze those patterns to identify anomalies or predict future health events.
So what ConMil does is it highlights which data points were most influential in the AI's decision.
Yes, exactly.
So instead of just getting a prediction, you can see what data points the AI flagged.
Right.
That could help us understand the reasoning behind it.
Exactly.
And maybe even spot errors. Okay, let's switch gears again and talk about biodiversity.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear how AI is being used for that.
Well, Chiswan Yang and their colleagues have created this massive data set of images. It's called Biotrove.
Biotrove.
And it's specifically designed for biodiversity research.
So what's in it?
Millions of images of plants, animals, and fungi, all labeled with species information.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
But how is AI actually being applied to all of this?
Well, this is the kind of data that's essential for training AI models to recognize and categorize different species.
So like an AI-powered app that could identify a plant from a photo.
Yes, exactly.
That would be so cool. But what are some real-world applications beyond that?
Well, think about tracking endangered species populations, monitoring the spread of invasive species, even discovering new species in remote areas.
Okay, so it's a really powerful tool for conservation and ecological research.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, so let's circle back to the clinical side of things.
Yeah.
Ziji Liu and their colleagues have been exploring a really interesting approach to improving clinical reasoning in these large language models.
Okay, tell me more about that.
They're using this technique called dialogue-based fine-tuning.
Dialogue-based fine-tuning.
Which basically means they're training these AI models using conversations, like the kind you might have between a doctor and a patient.
Interesting.
So instead of just feeding the AI medical textbooks, you're teaching it to think like a doctor.
Right, by exposing it to real-world interactions.
That's really cool.
It is, and by learning from these dialogues, the AI can develop these human-like reasoning abilities, which could lead to more accurate and personalized care.
So maybe someday these systems will be able to assist doctors in real time during consultations.
It's possible.
That'd be amazing.
Oh.
Okay, let's talk about Shahir Ahmad Khan and their team. They've developed an AI system for early prediction of chronic diseases.
So this system analyzes electronic health records to find people who might be at risk of developing certain conditions, like diabetes, heart disease, or even certain types of cancer.
And the key here is that it's explainable.
Yes.
It can actually tell you why someone was flagged as high risk.
Exactly.
That's huge.
It is, because it's not just about predicting disease.
Right, it's about taking action. Okay, let's dive into Minji Jia and their team. They've developed a system called Medical, which combines large language models with knowledge graphs.
Okay, I'm not familiar with knowledge graphs. Think of it as a massive database of medical information. It's got information about diseases, symptoms, treatments, medications, and how they all relate to each other.
So it's like a giant medical encyclopedia.
Exactly, but organized in a way that AI can understand and navigate.
So Medical can use this knowledge to help doctors make diagnoses.
Right. It can provide doctors with more accurate and informed suggestions.
That sounds really helpful for those complex cases.
It is.
So I'm curious about this paper by Saya Golapur Picha and their colleagues.
Okay, so they've created VACCA,
VACCA,
which focuses specifically on chest x-rays. And it's designed to bridge that gap between the technical analysis of the x-ray and the language that doctors use in their reports.
Okay, so it translates the AI's findings into something that doctors can easily understand.
Yes. It's about making AI more accessible and understandable for clinicians.
Which is really important for building that trust.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Yuxiang Ni and their team have developed Concept CLA, which is all about teaching AI to understand these images in a more nuanced way.
Right. It goes beyond just identifying objects. It uses concepts from the Unified Medical Language System, which is like a standardized vocabulary for medical terms.
So instead of just saying, this is a lung,
yeah,
the AI can provide more specific information.
Yes, exactly.
That's incredible.
It is.
Now let's explore how AI can help us make sense of all that unstructured data in electronic health records.
Okay.
So Huayuan Ying and their team have developed Genie, which can extract structured information from clinical notes.
So it's like an AI assistant that can read through those lengthy notes and pull out the important stuff.
Okay, so like diagnoses, medications, procedures.
Exactly. And by organizing that information, Genie makes it much easier to analyze and use that data for research or even personalized care.
That's a huge help for clinicians and researchers.
It is.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this paper by CG Song and their colleagues.
Okay, tell me more.
They've developed SynthTC,
SynthTC,
which is a method for bridging the communication gap between large language models and knowledge graphs.
So you've got the large language model, which uses natural language. And then you have the knowledge graph, which uses this specialized query language called Cipher. SynthTC acts as a translator, helping those two communicate.
So it's teaching the AI to speak the language of the knowledge graph.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
It is. It's a crucial step towards making these large language models even more powerful.
Okay, now let's talk about radiation oncology.
Okay, I like it.
Pailon Wang and their colleagues have been looking at how to fine-tune large language models for specific tasks in this field.
Like what kind of tasks?
Well, things like generating treatment plans, selecting appropriate treatment modalities, and predicting ICD-10 codes.
So they're making the AI an expert in radiation oncology.
That's amazing.
It is.
It seems like AI is being tailored to all these different medical specialties.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, so one challenge in medical imaging is creating realistic 3D models of organs and tissues.
Right.
Is AI being used to do that?
Absolutely. Mashid Shiri and their team have developed this really memory-efficient system for generating synthetic 3D medical images from CT scans.
So it's like an AI artist that can create these detailed 3D models.
Yes, and this is really important for making these technologies more accessible and widely applicable.
Okay, let's talk about this paper by Yifan Wang and their colleagues.
Okay, they've developed something called LMCF.
LMCF.
Which uses a technique called contrastive learning.
I'm not familiar with contrastive learning.
Basically, it learns to distinguish between healthy and diseased patterns by comparing different views of the data.
So it's training the AI to spot these subtle differences. That might indicate a problem.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
It really is.
Every paper we look at reveals another amazing way AI is being used.
It's remarkable, isn't it? And we're not done yet.
What? There's more.
There's more. We have even more research to discuss.
Okay, bring it on. Okay, so you're saying that AI might actually change how doctors prescribe medicine.
It could, and it's not about replacing that human judgment.
Right, because that's a really complex process.
Exactly. But AI can be super valuable here. Kidong Liu and their team have developed Leader, which uses these large language models to analyze a patient's history and suggest appropriate medications.
Well, like an AI advisor.
Augmenting human expertise. Leader considers a ton of information, like the patient's current conditions, past treatments, allergies, drug interactions, even their lifestyle factors.
To come up with these personalized recommendations.
Exactly.
Wow, so this could really help reduce medication errors
It could.
and make sure patients are getting the best treatment.
Absolutely.
It feels like AI is going to personalize every aspect of healthcare.
It's an exciting time.
Okay, so let's talk about answering questions.
Okay.
Imagine an AI that could answer questions about medical conditions, treatments, even just basic health information.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
But how do you even train an AI to do that?
Well, Icicle UCAR and their team have been working on this. They're exploring ways to fine-tune these large language models to make them really good at answering medical questions. And they found that some models can achieve incredible accuracy.
Like how accurate?
Like 100% on certain tasks.
Wow. So we're really getting close to having AI that can provide trustworthy answers to our health questions.
And this could change how people access medical information. It could empower patients to be more informed.
Right.
And maybe even reduce the burden on healthcare providers.
That'd be huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So for our final paper, let's zoom out and look at the big picture.
Sure.
Mohammed Aftab and their colleagues have this review of AI applications in oncology.
Oncology, which is a really important area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this review covers a lot of ground, from AI analyzing medical images to personalizing treatments and predicting outcomes.
So AI is being used across the entire cancer care continuum.
It really is, and it's giving us new hope in the fight against cancer.
That's amazing to hear. This deep dive has been incredible.
I've had a great time.
We've talked about AI that can see inside our bodies, AI that can help us understand cancer. It's clear that AI is going to revolutionize healthcare.
I completely agree, and we're just getting started.
Right, we're just at the beginning.
As AI technology keeps evolving, we can expect even more amazing applications.
I'm honestly blown away by what's already possible. And so excited about the future of AI in healthcare.
Me too.
But before we go, I want to hear from you, the listener. What stood out to you the most? What made you curious? What questions do you have? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.